Hi everyone. This week we've got Ben on the show from Agency Express. Ben, before we do anything, can you just give us a quick introduction as to who you are, please?
Sure. Hi, Lee. It's Ben from Agency Express, the for sale board company. We erect and service boards for estate agents around the UK. And I think today we're here to talk a bit about Agency QR.
We are indeed. So that leads me on to my first question nicely. So tell me about it. What is Agency QR?
Always happy to talk about Agency QR. Agency QR, I've even got one here because I thought it might be easier. If I actually hold that still enough for you, I can get your viewers to scan that. Agency QR is our fantastic new interactive QR code service, which goes along with the Agency Express standard for sale board service. What is it? Well, everyone knows what QR codes are. We've all been in and out of Wetherspoons and looked at the menu, but it enables that QR code system to work alongside the sale board. So when an estate agent makes a request through our system, they can request for an agency QR panel to be added. That code then goes onto the board, and the next time a passerby likes the look of one of your properties, they can scan it and you can send them through to the URL that you would like them to visit. It's completely unique, so they can be changed every single day if you want to try them on a virtual viewing, or if you want to try them on a capture page to collect their information, you can do that. But what most of our clients are using them for is firing that instruction through to a Rightmove listing or a Zoopla listing, so that potential purchaser has got all the property details straight away.
Awesome. Ben, can you share some stats for us, please?
I love some stats. Yeah, I've got them written down, so you're gonna have to excuse me looking down. We have, since we launched this, which was back in April this year, we've erected over 2,000 of these QR code panels around the UK. That has led to over 18,000 scans from potential purchasers. But probably the best stat I can give you is the highest scanned panel, which is 470 scans for a single panel, which was erected by our Cambridge operator for Savills. It's a beautiful property, fantastic board, but wow, 470 potential purchases, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I like the fact that you obviously changing it from being a static board into an interactive board. And do you see the difference from the previous kind of static boards versus the interactive boards? Do you see that in every case it improves that interaction, or is it just in certain aspects?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the really interesting thing about QR is that it's something that is now recognized. So QR codes aren't new. They've been around since 1994. Originally, if you're very interested, created by Toyota to track parts for cars. That's where they came from. But what makes them exciting now is the fact that people recognize what they are. So when you add a QR panel to a board, what it does is it encourages that member of the public, that passerby, to interact with your brand. Whether they go on to buy that house, well, who knows? But what you then have is some interaction with your brand, some contact. You can harvest their details and add them to your database. You know roughly what area they're interested in, because otherwise they wouldn't have scanned the board. You know the time of day they've passed by, and all this information can be tracked through our system. So there's no doubt that it makes it a more useful tool. The board becomes, as you say, interactive. It becomes active, what we like to call a live board revolution hashtag. But it's the important thing here is making sure that the person who is interacting on the street recognizes that it's you who's selling that house. Your brand becomes the important part of that process.
Wicked. Ben, what makes Agency QR different to, say, other QR services?
Other than the fact that it's led by Agency Express, the best board erector in the UK, largest board erector in the UK. Agency QR is different for three reasons. Again, I've written them down, so you're going to have to excuse me looking down. First, what makes us great? Unlike other QR code programs, there's no upfront cost, right? So any client that wants to use the service, they don't have to go out and buy anything. One of the biggest issues I've experienced with estate agents using a new product, new service, is the cost, right? If they want to try something, they're going to have to spend money. But with Agency QR, they don't have to, because the codes themselves are generic, so they get reused. It means that there's no upfront cost for the client. If they want to use one code, they can use one. If they want to use 100 codes, they can use 100. The cost will be the same. And if they don't like it and it doesn't work for them, perhaps it's not right for their brand, no worries. They just stop using it. It doesn't affect anything else to do with the quality of their service. Because it's completely piecemeal, that means that they can pick it up and put it down whenever they want to. So if they've got budgets throughout the year, perhaps they want to have a push through summer or spring, they can do that. But then they can ease off through autumn or winter or whenever maybe they want to reduce their marketing spend. I think the most interesting thing, though, is the fact that the URLs can be changed. So in SignMaster, in our system, the board management part of the process, those URLs are all logged. The estate agent has access to them every day, and they can change them as many times as they wish. There's no cost involved here. We're just changing that live link out of the property. So if they want to try it with a virtual viewing to begin with, and they think, actually, we're not getting much traction on that, I'll switch it to the Rightmove listing. Not getting much traction on that. Well, let's just harvest client data, turn it to a static page to their website, and collect the information from the prospective customer. It gives them a way to manipulate that board once it's on the ground. It's not, as you say, just a passive marketing tool. It becomes active. And finally, because they're reused, it's great for the environment. So from a CSR perspective, it's a really useful thing to say all those codes are reused. They never go straight in the bin after they've gone out on a property, which if it's a static code produced once, it will do.
I'm with you. And can you just tell me some of the successes maybe some agents have had, or
Well, we actually ran a competition for the first agent to sell a property through agency QR, and we promised a magnum of champagne. Now, there are a few front runners on that, but I don't want to point fingers. What we did do, though, I did for you today, because I thought you might ask me a question along these lines, is pull some analysis on one of our clients. Obviously, I can't name them, but a fairly large, well-known brand who adopted QR fairly early doors when agency QR was released. We've erected 215 panels for them. That's created just over 1,200 scans in that period. So that averages about 5-6 scans per panel. The highest number of scans for that specific client on one panel was 38. But if we equate that down to net cost, that is just over £1 per scan. So for each prospective purchase of each name on their book, it's £1. Now, generally, when I speak to estate agents and I say, what's a lead worth to you? 50, 60, £100, something along those lines. This is generating leads for those estate agents for £1. So that really starts to, push home the value of what we're trying to do here.
Ben, I think that's a fantastic way to kind of end our interview, really. And I want to thank you very much for coming on the show, bringing the stats, explaining it all, and thank you for taking the time.
No worries. Always happy to chat. Thanks very much for being invited.